Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever and whenever you are. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to part 2 to the mobile turn-based RPG we'll be making in Godot this series. If you are interested in learning more about Godot and learning more and enjoy this series, check out my Kickstarter. There will be a card and a link in the description where you can look at that. Let's get started. So today what we're going to do is we're going to theme the UI. We're going to get the basics for the theming in. And we're going to, well, we'll see. We'll see how much time we have, but we're going to start by theming it. And then if we've got the time, then we'll probably we'll learn about setters and getters in Godot as well. Let's start with the theme. So first thing we're going to want to do is right click over here, and we're going to create a new resource. We're going to call this, or we're going to look up theme. And where do we want to save this? We want to save this out here. Don't save it inside of images. Default theme. So we'll name it. You can double click on this. And there seems to be a little bit of a glitch where it opens that up, but doesn't know it's open. So you might have to click on this a couple times. But once that's open, we can click Edit Theme, and we're going to do Create from Current Editor Theme. And this is a great way to just get something in that doesn't look quite as bad. This looks a little bit cleaner than the other theme. And once we've got this, we're going to be editing all of this information over here. But let's just save first of all. And we want to set this as our default theme. But I guess we won't do that quite yet. So the first thing we want to get is a default font up here for our theme. And so we'll right click over here and we'll do new resource again, look up font, and we'll do a dynamic font. Call it default. Font. That looks weird to me. And once we've got that, we can double click on this. And there are some settings we'll need to set in here. First, font data, we'll need to drag pixel RPG over to here. That gets us this font. Then we need to set the font size to 6. And our bottom right here, we'll set this to -2, like that. And so the size just affects the font size. And for pixel art fonts, you have to use specific sizes. And I made this font, so I know that it's actually 6 pixels high. And that's why I'm able to know exactly what this is. If you get your own font from somewhere else, you might have to fiddle with that number to get the right size for you. And then this right here is just a little bit of extra spacing. We're pulling a little bit up from the bottom of the font because it needs that in order for us to be able to create the UI. It's such a low resolution pixel art game that our font needs to be really tight. And so we're taking a couple pixels off the bottom, basically, extra space that's there. And so then we can save this, just do save up here. Double click on our default theme again and drag our default font and drop it right here. And you can see once we've done that, if we open up theme again here, you can see it's updated all of the stuff here. Perfect. Now we're going to theme the button, but in order to do this, we're going to need, well, first let's do the font colors. I want to set each of these to white. Except for this one right here that's green. We'll set this to black, set this to white, and this to white as well. So you can see, oops. You can see we've got under button, we've got font color white, font color disabled, invisible, font color hover, white, font color pressed, black. Icon color doesn't matter because we don't have icons on our buttons. But those are both white as well. We can save this. But we're going to need some styles, and you can see we've got default is just style box flat across the board. These are that's what gives us this kind of blue blue border around our buttons right here in our theming. So we're going to create our own style boxes. So right click, do new resource, and we're actually going to open up the images here. This will just allow us to see the different images that I've got. So right click again down here. Make sure you don't right click too low or it won't work. New resource. And we'll need a style box. We're going to do style box texture. And we'll call this the same name as this over here. Button 9 frame. There we go. And so once we've got that, we'll need to edit that. So double click on our button 9 frame right here. We'll drag over this texture, the button 9 frame texture. Now this is a preview, and you can see that currently it's just stretching the image, and that's not what we want. We want to create a 9 frame, and in order to do this, we want this black area in the middle to stretch, but the pixels on the outside to not stretch. And to set that up, you can use down here, but I have never ever found this area down here to be useful for trying to set this up. It feels like it's a huge pain to use this. So what I've found is just setting the margin manually over here is the best way. Now I made these so I know that it's 2 pixels over on each one is what we want to be our borders. So we can come down here and we can just do 2, tab 2, tab 2, tab 2. And you can see up here now, our preview is showing properly. The black middle is stretching, and then there's the tiny little border around the edges. And of course, when you look at it up here, it's kind of hard to see because this is high resolution. But in our low resolution game, you're going to see this pixel art border nicely. And we can actually test this by coming into our UI and making a 9 frame. No, a panel. Yeah, just a panel. And you can see we've got our panel right here. And it's using the default theme that we already have. Well, it's using whatever. It doesn't matter which theme it is. But if we come over here to custom styles, I think. Yeah. If we come over here, custom styles, and drag over under panel, our button 9 frame, you can see that this 9 frame that we created, this style box, is now working properly. The black center stretches, the border doesn't stretch and looks nice. Well, let's delete that for now. So we could apply that to our button already, but we don't want to. We want to make sure we have a global default theme, so whenever we create a new button, it uses the theme that we want it to. So let's create another resource, style box texture again. This one we're going to call button 9 frame hover. Dang it, I have a B in there. So we're going to right click on that and do rename and get that fixed real quick. Double click on that, then we drag over button 9 frame hover for our texture, and our margin will be the same, 2, 2, 2, and 2. Then we'll save that real quick. We'll create another one, new resource, style box texture, button 9 frame pressed. There we go. And this one, we'll use the pressed texture. And I think our margin, I don't know, just do 2 as well on this one. I think it might be able to do 1 on this one because of how I have the texture set up. Oh no, I think I crashed it. Oh nope. It's just not working for whatever reason with 2 or with 1. It doesn't want me to do 1. That's fine. We can just do 2. I'm not sure what happened there, but let's save this. 2 will work. Now we can come into our theme, the default theme here, and we're still in buttons here. And for each of these, we're going to drag over our new style boxes. So for disabled, we'll use just the default one. For focus, we're actually going to do a new style box empty. Just click this little arrow and then do new style box empty. The reason we do that is because focus in Godot is a bit odd, because you can technically use keyboard input to navigate buttons and stuff. And it creates kind of like a little, if you put nothing here, it creates kind of like a little blue border, kind of fuzzy border around your buttons, and it looks bad. But if you do style box empty like this, then it fixes that problem. So you could have a custom style box for when it's in focus, and that would be fine too. We just don't need that for this game, so that's why this solves all the problems for us. We'll drag over hover for hover. Normal, we'll just use the normal one. And then for pressed, we'll use the pressed one that we made. And you can see down here that we've now got the 9 frame. It's working using our style boxes that we set up. It's kind of hard to see with that button. So then the last thing we need, well, not the last thing, but we also need to update, we need to create one more. So create a new resource, style box texture. This one is going to be just our panel 9 frame. And we'll use the panel 9 frame texture. And this one also comes in 2 on our margin. So 2, 2, 2, and 2, like that. And we'll be using this for like what we put inside of our, I'm getting like spam text messages. Okay, so this will be what we use for holding the stats for our character and the dialogue that's down at the bottom of the screen. So we'll set that up, save it, come into our, wherever our theme is again. And if we come into panel, then we can drag over our panel 9 frame. Let's get our theme opened up again. You can see it's up showing right there. It looks like line edit. We can drag it over here as well. There we go. Text edit. Where's text edit? Text edit. You can actually drag it just down like this. That solves that problem. And option button also uses it. Styles. Although it might be better to use the button style for option button. I don't know. Anyways, those elements aren't actually in our game anyways. So you really only need to theme for what you're going to be using, right? And if you add new UI elements to your game, like say you want a check button like this, and you're like, man, this does not look good inside of a pixel art game, well then you can create your own UI elements for each of these, and you can update your theme as you go. But no need to do more now. We've got exactly what we're going to need for this game. And our theming is now done. So we're definitely going to have time for a little bit more than just theming. So let's come into project settings, scroll down to GUI, and under theme, we should be able to click here. There should be a custom, and we should be able to select default theme, open, close. Now we can save our game, but we're going to have to reset the window in order for the theme to be applied. So the easiest way to do that is project, quit to project list. It will open up the project list again. We can open up, where are you? Mobile RPG tutorial. And our new theme should be applied across the board, and you can see that it is. Our sword button now is properly set up with the theme, and on our enemy, the HP label is also properly set up, although we probably want the alignment to be center. That looks good. So if we run the game, we should be able to see. That's interesting how the text moves just a little bit. Could be because of our font. Default font. Let's try removing the extra spacing for now. That's even more. Holy cow. Let's see what happens if we scale it around a bit. No, we're still. We might need to reset again after updating the font, but I think I'm just gonna set it to what I have. Oops, -2. Set it to what I have in the example project and trust that when we get everything set up, it will start working properly. Oh, now it does. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what was going on there, but it seems to be fixed now. So it might have been the size of the button. It shouldn't matter. If you're still having the issue or not having the issue, it probably won't matter. We'll see at the end, because we're going to use some special UI elements and grid elements to make sure that this all aligns perfectly to how it does in my example project anyways, so it's not something we need to worry about right now. If it's still giving us issues later, then let me know in the comments, and we'll try and figure out what's going on, but I don't think it will. So let's create a script for our enemy now. So click on enemy, click on new script. We'll just call it enemy, and in this script we're going to give the enemy a variable called HP, and we're going to set it to 25. Now, we're going to learn about what setters and getters are in Godot. So in Godot, you have setters and getters, and mostly the setter is the most useful because you can just get the variable if you want without using a getter. But the setter can be useful, and we'll make one for this because whenever you change a variable, you can have it run some extra code. And this is most useful when you have UI that you need to update to reflect the change. So how this would work, we'll do set get, and then we need to create a function. We'll call it set HP. That just tells it what function we want to use, but it says setter function is not defined, so let's define it. Function set HP. Now setters always take a value, so this will be new HP, and then you need to actually set the value. So HP equals new HP. And it seems like a little bit of a pain, right? But the benefit is that we can do other code inside of here as well. So let's get access to the HP label. So on ready var, if you remember from the last video, HP label equals, do our $, HP label. There we go. So we've got access to HP label. Now, whenever our HP gets affected, we can update the label to reflect that new change. So we can say HP label.text equals HP, right? So whenever HP changes, our HP label will be updated to reflect that new change. So now, instead of setting HP label manually like we did, come up to your battle script, click on battle, click on the script. Instead of setting HP label manually, we can get access to the enemy instead. Var onReady var enemy, like this. And then we can say enemy.hp minus equals 4 or something, right? We can save and run the game. And now every time we change the enemy's HP, so that was silly because this text right here is expecting a string value, but this is an integer value, which means it's a number, it's not a word. And so we need to convert it. So we'll do str parentheses around it, and that will convert the number into a word that it can then display the text. So now if we do that and we attack 21, 17, 13, and we can go into the negative here because we can't destroy the enemy yet, but you can see that's working. Now let's add we'll add to that string value, we'll add the HP as well so that the label doesn't go away. Now each time we attack, the HP lowers and it works perfectly. Good work. Okay, and I think that's going to be it for this video. Well, actually, let's put in some of our other UI elements. So turn on that right there. Let's come into UI here. And we'll add a new text box panel here. So click on UI, click on add node, do panel, and we'll call this text box panel, like this. And we'll grab this, we'll drag it down here. Now, in my example project, I have this set up to where it's just a bit outside of the view like this, so that when you look at it, when you run the game, it's just down here is like this little edge. And you can see that matches up quite nicely with the mobile RPG mock-up that we have. And then we have another one up here, so let's do that as well. This one's going to be our stats panel. So let's click on UI, create a new panel, and call this stats panel. I'm actually going to drag this one up above the sword button just because I want it to be, I want the nodes in the scene, since it doesn't matter, I want them to represent the same order that they are in the room as well. Top, middle, bottom, top, middle, bottom. And that's just, it just makes it a little bit easier to navigate your make sure we're lined up nicely. And I think in the end I end up making this a little bit larger so that it can fit the stats more easily. And I'm comparing with my example project. It looks like it's about there. if all is correct. That's about how high it is. And so that would be a height of 23 pixels high. And why not? While we're at it, let's move this and line it up with the mock-up. And there you go. You can see this is aligning quite nicely with our mock-up, but it also will, once again, if we stretch this around, it's interesting how the font is a little bit fancier than the rest of it. Anyways, if we stretch it around, it should work for different device sizes. So there you go. You learned about setters and getters, which are generally the most useful for updating a UI. We can update our label whenever the enemy's health changes, like this. And you learned about theming. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful, then give it a like and subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. Check out my Godot course, my Kickstarter. There'll be a link in the description. If you want to learn Godot, I think it's a good way to do it. And I appreciate all your support. I will talk to you all later.